Things are going to start happening to me now.
You've done all the reading. You're a scholar. You're a professor. You've done all the reading. You've done the intellectual heavy lifting.
More or less, eat shit and die.
You wouldn't know a fact if it begged you all night long.
Want to give the wrong impression because I am very high.
Fucking ran up behind him with a hatchet. Smash, smash, smash. Yeah.
Care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
Cast number 4. Andy, did we just see your brother Kai on there swinging a hatchet? Is that your brother?
No, I'm anti-hippie action, actually.
Welcome, everybody. This is Tyler Yonke with Garbage Main. Andy, I'm not going to give you your last name unless you want me to, because I don't remember it. And that's the other part of it. So we're here. It's episode number 4. We've actually got some people ready to rock and roll with us. But I thought you and I would catch up a little bit, see how things are going in the Andy world. I know you went to Childeberg. I went to Reno. What's new?
A lot's happened. Yeah, Childeberg was fun. No Scott Horton there this year. I was kind of bummed about that, but I took my daughter. It was her first camping trip. She enjoyed it. Obviously, 5-year-old little girl. She didn't really like the bugs and stuff, but she liked swimming in the lake and hanging out with everybody. And it was good to see some friends and hang with the boys, especially Nick and Tommy Salmons and a few others. Got to meet Pete Quinones and
nice
and Patrick McFarland from Liberty Weekly. Always a good time hanging with those guys.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to try Childeberg next year, or I don't know. My wife had said something about going to Pork Fest, so we'll see. Curious question for you though. So you were there with Nick and those guys. Why did Slurp Gaming end? Do you know? I mean, this is the Libertarian Podcast Review show, so I mean, and Ace is calling Nick a coward on the timeline. I don't think we're really diving into private stuff here, so do tell.
I don't think it's really my place to say. I kind of got a feeling, but I would rather those guys speak for themselves. Ace said that I was talking shit about him as well. When
oh shit, okay.
I just pointed out that on Father's Day he spent the day defending drag queens and stuff, talking about any type of father's rights issues or anything like that. And whatever. I don't think Ace is a bad guy. I think, he's just doing his own thing. Like, if they got a disagreement, that's between them, and I don't really want to get in between it.
Well, it sounds like the show's ended. So I don't know. I always thought it was a great open, and then I would not listen to the rest of it. But I love the open. So as far as that goes,
Jay has his own show now.
What's that? What, the Jay and Bob's Secret something, or what is it called?
Cognitive Dissidence.
All right, you already lost me, but I'll check it out. I don't know if he had. Most of them had blocked me too, so I don't know. Maybe he had. I'll look and see. He's the Jew, right?
Yeah, he was at Childeberg. It was good to meet Jay. He's a Jew, but he's a good one.
Okay, I wasn't implying anything else. Yeah, that's all.
He's also a fan of country music, so him and I talk country music quite a bit.
Oh yeah. So what's the conversation like when you talk country music? Give me an example of how a conversation goes about country music.
Well, as most things in pop culture go these days, they're mostly gay. So when you can find the few good things in between here and there, you share it with your friends, and
all right,
you talk about shit you like. I don't know.
Did you ever now country music? But were you besides a redneck-ish guy? I'm trying to make it nice in case you aren't. Did you ride horses? Any ride horses or anything like that, or you just like the music?
I did a little bit when I was a kid. I got a few cousins that have farms and shit, but I mean, I grew up in the city, so I'm kind of right in the mix of black rednecks and white liberals.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, because I'm always curious. I grew up around horse culture as well, being out in the country and stuff. I didn't like country music, but I was always confused why they didn't have pockets on the back of their jeans. So I thought maybe I'd finally get this answered. And no, I'm not going to get it answered. So we had some people coming in tonight, and Pinord is one of them, folks. I know he's your favorite laugher. So, but he's having some tech issues because he decided to do this by the lake. Oh, he's trying to come back in. Should we bring Pinord in first? What do you think? And see if his anything works on his system, or should we bring your buddy in? What do you prefer?
I'm indifferent either way. We can try Pinord.
Let's give him a shot, people. And Perry, can you hear us? Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, he's solid on the tech, and he knows how to entertain. So we'll maybe go somewhere else. Anything else in this? I wanted to show you. Maybe we'll save this for some of our people here. I've got a few things. One of them reminded me of, we talked about the tranny stuff, or the drag queens. I guess there's a difference. What's the difference? Do you know? Have you done a technical breakdown of a difference between a drag queen and like a tranny?
I don't care. It's all gay to me.
Right. So you're not getting involved in the online arguments with Ace then, like Toad was?
No, I asked Ace about a month ago if he thought kids could be trans, and he said he doesn't think they can get surgery, but obviously surgery and being trans you don't necessarily have to have surgery to be trans, right? Like most of the people still they're tucking it in or duct taping it or whatever they're doing.
Right. Got a bunch of quitters. We got.
It took about 6 hours, and then he finally said, yeah, he thinks kids can be trans. And I was like, okay.
All right. Michael Chiklis, can you hear us this time? Hello? Perry?
Pinord?
No? No? Take it? Okay. I'm going to remove, and I guess let's bring in your buddy Peyton and see if
was that a Bill's Mafia shirt he had on?
I don't know.
I was going to ask you about how your experience was at the LP National Convention, and tell you your haircut's looking fresh and gay for a Californian.
For a California. So actually you're impressed. Okay. So you like it. That's what you're telling me. I appreciate it.
Well, I mean, I don't like it, but for California standards, I guess that's pretty good.
Nah, I don't know about that. People like your haircut here as well. I'm very, as you can tell, straight laced. If I had it my way, I would just shave it all off. But I kind of need some hair, I guess, when I go to court. So Reno was great. It was fabulous seeing, and actually the hotel was horrible. And there's some parts of Reno that are nicer than others. And this was a really crappy one. People got sick. I got sick. We didn't have COVID, but people got COVID. Got to see a bunch of good people. Toad.
He got monkeypox, everybody.
Right. And you may not be a big fan of Toad, but it was fun seeing him. He was a good guy to me.
No, I like Toad.
Reed, Clint was out there. Black Mutualist, I saw. Jason.
BlackRock?
Yeah, he's the pussy slayer. There was a bunch of other people. It was just cool to see Dave Smith. It was interesting because I'd just done a Mark Claire episode, the interview, and Dave's walking up and he looks at me and he goes, "I know you. I just saw your podcast." And I was like, "Hey," and then he was talking, and then I don't know. I saw him a few times. So that's my claim to fame right there. Oh, Nick Gillespie. I know people aren't big fans of Nick Gillespie, but he was one of the more fun people to talk to, engaging actually. So. Yeah.
He's probably cool to hang out with, but
yeah.
Him and I are obviously very different.
Yeah, but he's one of those people though, I would imagine, you see him all the time, you listen to a podcast, and then you get a chance to actually kind of meet him, and it's like, him in a sense, because, you're always hearing him, and it'd be fun. I'm like, oh, he'd just be a fun guy to just sit down and have a drink with. And then he was talking, and you would ask him a question, and he was very engaging and funny. I asked him if he had done any interviews in the bathroom, and he hadn't, but he did say something about topping his toe. So let's bring in our first. Let's see if this boy's. There we go.
Whoa, hello.
Peyton, I take it that's your name. Why don't you introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll give you the concept of the show. Everybody is you've got a minute to rant about anything you want. It could be comedy, it could be talking about your wife, your boyfriend, your drag queen story hour, whatever it is, you got a minute to do it. When you hear this, that's the minute's up. But if you could delay a little bit and you go on a little bit, when you hear this, that you're really done.
Yeah, if you vote for Adolf Hitler as the Libertarian Party candidate.
Okay, so if you hear that, you've gone too far. Okay, were you able to hear those cues, Peyton?
Yeah, I was able to hear those cues. I guess to introduce myself, for those who don't know me, my name is Peyton. I'm the founder of Repeal the 20th Century, which is a YouTube
Hang on,
show.
before you go, I'm gonna start your minute now, and do you want to use this as part of your minute, or do you want to introduce yourself after?
I guess I'll introduce myself after then, if I only got the minute. Cause
I want to start it off. Then we'll talk. We'll do it. So I'm gonna start it right now, and you say whatever you want for a minute.
Get it together, Tyler. You asked him to introduce himself.
Okay. You know what, Andy? This is how I run the. This is how I run the show. Shitty or not, this is the way it goes. So here's your minute. Ready, go.
All right. So the thing that I majorly wanted to talk about was something I was talking with Andy before you guys started your show, which is about an article that Mises published by Michael Reckenwald, who was a guest on my show. He was a really great guy, but he was just completely wrong. He wrote, the title of the article is "Like the Old McCarthyism, the New McCarthyism Targets Russia." And he falls into this trap of like McCarthy was like a paranoid schizophrenic and, saw communists everywhere. But, McCarthy was right. And so I don't think it's a really apt comparison here. And he ties it to Russia-phobia way too much when McCarthy was very clear it was about communists among our midst. Like the only valid criticism I would say is Rothbard's criticism, which is that he didn't focus on homegrown communists as much as, that it was like a Soviet plot and was a Soviet antagonist. But like otherwise, he was right,
All right. So tell you what, you're fascinating because you're probably smarter than Andy and I, at least me. So this is a topic that I'm a big fan of. I had read quite a few books back about McCarthy. And his statement at Wheeling or something like that. The big 200 people that he was outing. To me, there's and so I didn't see the article by Rectenwald, but I can imagine because I know he's a former lefty, so maybe he takes a little bit more guile from this problem, this McCarthy thing. But I think you're completely right. The McCarthy, though, I think part of his problem, it's kind of the same thing with some conspiracy theorist people, which is when you have easily debunked conspiracies that they go after, then you don't believe the actual ones, right? That they purport really bad ones. So McCarthy maybe was too shotgun approach of naming everybody, and he wasn't a little bit more specific. What do you think about that?
I think he definitely could have, targeted a little better than he did. But it turns out, especially after the fact when we started to get our hands on Soviet documents, the truth is he was basically right about everybody he named.
Yeah.
That basically everybody he named was a communist. A lot of them had contacts with the Soviet Union, and that, their plans were to subvert society. And even at the time, there was a lot of evidence that he was right. There were actually many people who said, yeah, you're right, Joseph McCarthy, but, I don't like you accusing me of it on the floor of Congress. So, McCarthy's major, I guess I should say, fault here was that, he wasn't as accurate as he should have been, or I should say precise with his aim, and that he was a little too antagonistic to the Soviet Union. But otherwise, he was completely dead right. And I think Rectenwald has a rare miss here because I think his stuff is great. And I really like the guy and highly recommend his stuff. But here, I think he's just like.
So tell me real quick about the Rectenwald piece. So is it more he's saying, what is he saying that the Marxist now, or the anti-Soviet issue now, is kind of like McCarthy, so he's kind of throwing McCarthy under the bus in a sense? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it seems a lot of like throwing McCarthy under the bus and kind of going with this thing of like, oh, they're just irrationally afraid of Russians, which McCarthy's position was never that it was like Russians, it was communists. He specifically was talking about communists. There was certainly Russophobia that came out of the Cold War and still exists today with this whole Russia issue. But he overemphasizes it when it comes to McCarthy, and I think really he wanted like a something that people could recognize when writing this article, rather than saying something else that people aren't going to connect with as much. So he kind of misses there, but at the end of the day, he does get it right in the sense that of like they're using the same fear and panic from the Cold War to kind of re-justify like a new Cold War against Russia, which I'm not going to say is in the right, because I definitely don't believe that when it comes to Ukraine and everything, but it's definitely not the issue that these people make it out to be, where we have to get behind this and sacrifice our economic stability and billions of dollars so we can prop up this war that really at the end of the day I think mostly exists because of U.S. Foreign policy.
What do you think, Andy?
I think it's well said. You guys are both smarter than I am as far as the history of McCarthyism and shit. As far as I know, McCarthy was right, and communists suck.
Well, one thing people don't really know, if you go back in that time, there was a guy named Whittaker Chambers, okay, full-on communist, and he ended up being the editor for Time magazine, but he's the one that had this microfiche, because Alger Hiss was a guy that was in the State Department, and he was doing the communist or the Soviet Union's bidding in a sense during the Cold War, and he was in the State Department. He was there at Yalta helping FDR. So he was very instrumental. He was a big time lefty. So this guy ends up not becoming a communist anymore. His name Whittaker Chambers, and he comes over to the New Right at the time, and he has this microfiche, and he hides it in a pumpkin, and then he gives it to Senator Nixon, the Nixon that becomes president, and it's a whole big scandal thing. And this guy was a full-on spy, so McCarthy was in a sense right.
Yeah, I think the most interesting connection one that he was right about and completely goes overlooked is I forgot the name of this economist, but he helped found the Bretton Woods system, and was a Keynesian economist and very good friends with Keynes. But it turned out many years later, we found out that actually this guy was a Soviet spy and had tons of connections to the Soviets. And this guy basically helped create the current economic system we unfortunately live under that causes all the problems that we have, particularly when it comes to international trade and currency exchanges.
I think some of these folks are still connected to Russia, even though they want to put on the anti-Russia, anti-Putin shit. They're still getting payments from Moscow, like Hunter Biden. So it's tough to really. You kind of get in the weeds in some of the foreign policy stuff, and I think it's intentionally confusing. But I definitely think McCarthy was right.
Yeah, I think if you start digging under those, what do you call it? Digging under the dirt to kind of find all these connections and see what's going on, you're going to find that they're a lot more connected than they put off into the public sphere. That being the different states and the different politicians around the world who claim to be opposed to each other, especially when it comes to China, Saudi Arabia, Russia to some extent, and Israel. So
now that we're 20 minutes in, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so for those who don't know me, my name is Peyton. I run Repeal the 20th Century, which is it's technically a podcast. I tend to avoid the word podcast a lot because what I try to do with my channel is very formal interviews with people who just aren't some random guy on Twitter, but intellectuals, actual politicians, etc., like that. and have them on for formal interviews and talk to them about their ideas. As well, I occasionally do some streams where I just talk about whatever and try to give my opinion on whatever's going on. But for the most part, that's the main thing I do. Plus, I'll write for my Substack and the Mises Institute, the Libertarian Institute, and I also just publish with the Hopian, which is a great site if you don't know it.
So do you post at Mises or these other places under an actual name or pseudonym, or is it how are you going about it on that?
Yeah, so I go by my actual name, which is Peyton, and
okay. I'll look for you. I didn't know about you. I mean, I've seen you on Twitter and stuff, but I'll check out your podcast. So
yeah, it's good. I recommend it. It's good long form interviews, and you just had something published recently in the Austrian.
I had something published in the Austrian earlier in June. But I mean, the most recent thing I've published was over at Hopian.
Isn't the Austrian just the paper magazine for Mises?
Yeah. My interview with Jeff Dice got published.
Nice. So what's your background
there? Yeah, so my background is
what's your sex life?
Autism incoming.
Yeah. I'm autistic. So.
Well,
but
we did. Notice I didn't ask that question.
No, but Andy brought it up, so I had to bring that up.
We already assumed.
And now that also answers the sex life question.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I was born and raised in Texas most of my life. Unfortunately, got dragged to Yankee hell, known as New York, and now I'm there. But I got into libertarianism and Austrian School of Economics in high school, and from there, when going through college and everything, I further cemented myself and got involved with the Mises Institute. Start writing. I actually worked for a Republican assemblyman here in New York not too long ago, and have been involved in politics, and eventually got inspired to do my show because I didn't see enough libertarian content that were like long form interviews, and with people who I think needed to be interviewed more and needed their ideas spread more, particularly.
So which ones are those?
If I had to say like one who I think definitely needed more circulation, it was someone like Patrick Newman or Peter Klein. I had a lot of big names who, get interviewed a lot, who are really great people like Scott Horton, Jeff Dice, and everything. And these, I don't want to diminish them at all. In fact, I want to prop them up. But, the people like Patrick Newman and Peter Klein and these other Mises Institute scholars who, go under most people, even people who love the Mises Institute's radar, but are like really smart people and contribute really great ideas to this movement and to libertarianism as a general rule. So I wanted to prop them up, get them more circulation and the ideas that they provide, and also talk about topics that I don't think are talked about enough. One that I had with who he's currently a graduate fellow over at the Mises Institute, but he's also like a great friend of mine, is Marcel Goutreau, who, if you're on Twitter enough in the Liberty space, you'll see him eventually. But
in spaces specifically.
Yeah, in spaces specifically. But I mean, we talked about prisons and the justice system and like
and flogging.
And flogging and all these other topics that just don't get talked about enough because a lot of people are like, oh, we achieved Ancapistan. How are we going to deal with criminals? And it's like, oh, well, prisons are kind of bad, so let's just flog them. Stuff like that.
And, I'm a big Patrick Newman stan, so I have to go back and check out that episode. Have you had Tho Bishop on yet?
Yeah, Tho was
you're in your mullet love. Just yeah. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Tho was my third episode actually, and I met Tho at Mises University, and I mean he's a great guy too, and talking to him about this resurgence of libertarians infiltrating the Republican Party was an interesting idea to me, because I think even the Mises Caucus taking over the LP. I mean, it was inspired by a Republican trying to take over the Republican Party, or it was inspired by a libertarian trying to take over the Republican Party in Ron Paul.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely competing visions going on there.
Yes.
So I'm going to keep you on, and I'm going to bring in Dickie Walnuts.
Sure.
And then I've got some, once we flog Dickie, because that's the topic we're going to work on. I actually want to talk to you guys kind of about the question. There's that guy that's running in Florida against DeSantis. Okay. So I think it's let's maybe talk a little bit about that, but not going to be too serious. But hang on, Peyton, thanks once again for your minute and your conversation. We'll get more with you, but Dickie, oh geez, why does it look like a fake picture? Like your head is just photoshopped onto someone's body.
It's attached. It's here.
Okay.
I heard we're flogging dick. I'm sure you guys are experts in that field.
Right. Well,
Dickie, are you a ginger? Did you dye your hair? Or is that the light?
No, I dyed my hair. It's blonde, but the light is making me look like a ginger.
That's disturbing. We already got one evil person here. I don't know, if Peyton's a ginger or not, but
I have to dye it back because apparently my wife scheduled some like anniversary photo shoot or something pretty soon, so we have to go back to brown. But
are you ready for this? You ready for your minute? You know how to do this?
Dude, I have no idea what to fucking do. What are we doing here?
You've seen Kill Tony, right? This is a knockoff.
Yeah.
You have a minute.
So we go on and
you can say whatever you want for a minute, and when you hear this, that's when your minute's up. If you go over too long, we're gonna stop you completely when you hear this.
Vote for Adolf Hitler.
How long was this guy's minute? The repeal the 20th.
Once you're done with a minute, then we'll have a conversation with you. If you
want,
or I'll beat you. But you get an uninterrupted minute. Let's see what you can do.
Okay. Sure.
I don't know. Do you have a comedy? Do you want to talk about your wife? Talk about your whatever. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Can you handle
talk about
a minute
this,
on your own?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Okay. Ready?
I don't know.
Go. Ready? You're on.
So
ready to
go. We need to be talking about this guy over here to the repeal the 20th. It should be repeal the 19th, man. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He needs to take it down a notch and go for that 19th Amendment. I assume he's probably read one of my books, at least the first one, the 19th Amendment and its consequences. If he enjoyed that, he should read The Patriarchy and its accomplishments. Coming soon on Amazon. Whenever I stop being fucking lazy, I can write that. But I have a little conversation that I want to talk about. Me and a friend of mine who's, well, I guess he's a friend. He's basically a cop now. He was in my house. I let him in. And he went from in like elementary and junior high school being somebody who wouldn't even salute the flag because he was red pilled about the government and stuff. At least his dad told him. And somebody who was like, we thought it was crazy, but he was always telling us about, CIA did XYZ in Vietnam or something. So now he's a fucking Republican cop shilling for the man. So it was kind of interesting. We had some good conversations, though. I know that wasn't funny, but it wasn't funny.
It didn't have to be funny.
Oh, okay.
Did you hear Peyton's wasn't funny? Well, maybe.
No, I didn't laugh once.
I don't know. He's started talking about his sex life.
I won't quit my day job then.
Right. So Dickie, I know that you have the whole repeal the 19th Amendment. I'm a big fan of your writings.
Thank you.
Is this a legit book you're actually doing, or is this all just you're like, what's the guy's name that works for the Daily Wire? He wrote something, all the good things about the Democratic Party, and then the book
was that Walsh? Did Walsh do that, or
no?
Was
it was
Knowles?
Michael Knowles, and then it was literally 200 blank pages. And it was a bestseller. So is that what it is, or is this a legitimate book?
Honestly, I could do that. I could go the lazy route because that's what I like to do. But I don't know. I've actually been thinking about it. I just once my wife finds out, I'm probably doomed to the couch forever. But that's good because we bought a comfy couch. So things could be worse. I don't know. I am thinking about it actually.
What is your best argument for repealing the 19th Amendment?
I don't need to make an argument. Look outside. That's my best argument.
Misogyny pills.
That's gonna be the fucking opening, like the prologue of the book or the foreword or whatever.
If you can add an amendment, what would it be?
If I could add an amendment, it would be, I don't know how many amendments are in there. It would nullify literally the whole Constitution. That would be the amendment. But if we want to get specific, shit. I mean, okay, we could repeal income tax. Okay, that would be like, I mean, yeah, you could say I could flip a switch and the state would end, but like if we're talking about like some realistic small things, then yeah, that would be a start. Income tax, I think.
Yeah, I don't. And maybe we'll talk to Peyton here. Do you want to live in Ancapistan, Dickie, or what's your ideal?
I mean, I live in Florida already. It's a swamp, and you kind of do whatever the fuck you want. No, yeah, I'd be down, honestly.
You can't speak out against Israel, though.
Wait, what?
Florida has the anti-BDS laws, right?
Anti-BDS laws.
What about BDSM? Is that?
Ooh, we have that in Florida. We have plenty. We have plenty of like alligator leather to go around down here. So
does that happen more in the Panhandle or towards like Miami Beach and shit?
I mean both. Honestly, Panhandle has more gators than you'd expect. I've seen I've never seen a gator near my house. I've seen some tracks and stuff in the mud, which I think were a gator. They had little fucking dinosaur feet. They look like not dinosaur feet, but fucking lizard feet.
Spud wants to know. She says, so you're going to have the 19th repealed before your wife finds out.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
She would probably prefer it that way too. Yeah.
It's like
the 19th Amendment is my mistress, except I'm trying to kill her.
A pregnant mistress that you're trying to. Do I want to say have an abortion? I don't know. I'm going dark.
Damn.
that went over well. Sorry.
Does a double murder count?
You know what's interesting is California is so liberal on their abortion stuff, but Scott Peterson was convicted and charged with double murder because his wife was pregnant.
Who's Scott Peterson?
Well done. He was the guy that killed his wife. It was all big.
Obviously.
On the news. Yeah, it was in the news, and then he tried to bury her in the bay and cement and stuff, and she came floating back up. He had a girlfriend on the side.
You can't sink bodies. You can't do that. They'll fill it with gas and they'll float.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Physics is not your friend there.
Yeah.
But
the landfill is though.
The landfill is orange groves.
What have you found while now you're building decks out in the ocean docks? So have you found anything interesting out there? Like you'd need to call the cops or like hide in your basement afterwards?
No, because they're all in like ritzy, well-to-do neighborhoods. So, which would be a good place to do it, or it wouldn't. Like it'd be kind of a hiding in plain sight thing because one, nobody would expect you to dump a body out in the fucking Ritz-Carlton neighborhood, but at the same time, it's crawling with HOAs, and they call the cops on us if they see us walking down the street too much. So.
Right.
Have you changed your name yet to Docky Walnuts or no?
Docky Walnut. I did at one point. Yeah, I think right now it's like R.I.P. Paulie or something because Tony Sirico passed away.
Don't you need to change it now that he's dead?
What?
The guy
R.I.P.
died,
Paulie. Yeah, he died. Fucking rest in peace.
Yeah, California. So at some point you're gonna have to get past the R.I.P. stuff, right? Just have.
I guess I'm actually about to stop doing docs right now, which is kind of sad, but. I need fucking insurance, so I'm going back to Budweiser.
Going back to working for the beer man, huh?
Working for the beer man. Hey, it could be worse, man. You can steal all kinds of beer there, and expensive whiskey and shit. But yeah.
So we should have a party in Florida, and Dickie can provide. That sounds great. So you're in Florida. Yeah. So let's ask this question. So DeSantis is obviously king of Florida. People love him or hate him.
All hail DeSantis. May he live forever.
Right. So there's a libertarian, Hector, and I've been wanting to watch the podcast that he's done.
Oh, yeah.
But I have not because why spend time doing that? But he's pushing back against DeSantis. Now, he's getting a lot of shit for it, okay?
Yeah.
What is your take? And I also want Peyton's take and Andy's on this. Is that a good thing to do or a bad thing to do? When I was at Reno, I talked to Jeremy Kauffman, and I said, "Hey, the libertarians that run there in your state, they seem to be doing well. How is it with pushing the Overton window?" And he says, "Actually, it's great. It pushes all the Republicans to the libertarian spectrum even more. So with this Hector guy running, is that why not?
I still haven't formulated my solid opinion on it, to be honest. I've seen I was in the live chat in the episode. We asked a lot of good questions. I asked a bunch of retarded questions, but
I was going to say, did you troll or actually ask good questions?
Oh, I trolled the fuck out of him. But I actually asked some legit questions too. And I mean, he was getting bombarded the whole time. And it was a good episode, I'll be honest. He makes a few good points. The stuff he's talking about with DeSantis, he was talking about certain taxes that got raised or got introduced that nobody really talks about. I brought up the point of FPL, Florida Power and Light, is basically now the monopoly in Florida for power. I used to work for a solar company, and that was a big thing that we were pushing because they were buying
Did you
up.
work for Solyndra?
Oh yeah,
that's not here in California.
I work for a lot of places, bro.
That was my jab at Obama. Sorry.
Right.
Thanks, Obama. So I was getting to see firsthand of how FPL was becoming a monopoly, and long story short, they've been donating a ton to DeSantis' campaign, which I assume they donate to everybody. I mean, it would make sense. And he's not going to say no. However, recently it's gotten a little better, but FPL was really pressuring a lot of people with their bills. They were just jacking them up for no reason. They were just using all kinds of excuses. And a lot of people were blaming DeSantis for it. I don't fucking know the details in that. I'm sure he's not super innocent with it, but there was just a lot of little things that Hector brought forward that were good points. And at first, when he talked about running, I was just, it's kind of like an eye roll moment. I do think Florida is different than New Hampshire for sure, but I also think, he's not wrong of what he was talking about. And I think he lives in South Florida, like near Miami or something like that. I may be wrong. That's obviously much more different than the Panhandle because it's like Magaville up here. Down there, apparently a lot of cities locked down for longer, so I'm sure the experience during COVID was different.
And then you talk about you opened up here about your buddy, being more of a statist police guy. I mean,
yeah.
I get it, but you can even push back again. The tide it's just different, right? And I think that you can have a libertarian. Now, here, Peyton, why don't you chime in on this with being part of the Hoppian thing and working for a Republican? What's your opinion on this? And do you always, like, my immediate thing watching Twitter is people just are going after this guy. And I wouldn't, if I was the LP, I wouldn't put money towards that campaign, but I don't have a problem with him doing that. And so it seems weird that kind of the right
libertarians. Yeah, he's getting dragged pretty hard for it when I don't think he's going to make such a splash as they're crying about, but whatever.
But if he gets a few, I mean, the best he can do is make DeSantis go to the libertarian, run that way a little bit. Peyton, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it was a mistake in the sense that if you're going to run a campaign, and I've said this before, and I said this actually in my episode with Though Bishop that I mentioned earlier, where the role of the Libertarian Party is to be a bargaining chip for Republicans, to say, hey, we're going to spoil your election, or we're going to pull away some votes if you don't meet us on these demands. And, they can't meet you on every demand. That's completely unrealistic and frankly retarded.
Yeah.
But, they're going to meet you on some things. And I think Ron DeSantis, more than almost any other governor in America, has met the libertarians on like key issues, particularly, sticking it to public schools, get rid of woke garbage in public schools. He was really good on COVID. Like, the only examples I can see of people saying he wasn't good on COVID was like some local governments trying to defy him, which is a weird point to try to bring up.
Right.
So, but that is not at all what this guy who's running against DeSantis has framed his campaign. It is like, destroy DeSantis, get him out of there, no room for compromise, and really just making DeSantis out worse than he is, because DeSantis is not perfect. I mean, I think everyone can acknowledge that, particularly, we mentioned it earlier with the anti-BDS laws, which I think is a huge, huge problem. Which,
Thank
if
you.
you don't know what BDS is, I'll explain it since someone requested. BDS is this movement that, honestly, I'm going to be real, doesn't get a lot of results on this issue, but is a pro-Palestinian movement to try to get rid of Israel's influence in the United States and also cut them off from certain incomes by just boycotting products that are sourced from Israel, boycotting things that come straight from the Israeli government, things like that. And but in Florida, they actually have laws against doing that, about specifically calling for boycotts against that. I can't remember the exact specifics, but they're very codifying this pro-Israel stance, which I think is terrible. I think Israel is genuinely one of the biggest enemies to libertarians and the right. As much as people want to try to embrace Israel, people like Ben Shapiro, but Israel is a bad thing. But these are the few points that really people get out there of oh, he's really bad on this. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that much, Israel, when it comes to Florida politics. It's a whole nother thing if we're going to start talking about him running for president. But,
Right. So my thing with the guy is, and like I said, if the LP was dumping money in there, I would be especially with the LP that's in charge now, I would be disappointed, right? So I don't have a problem with this guy, even if he's not taking the angle that you think is the best one, which is to use it as a negotiation period, because he's not. This is a kitten that that's trying to fight a lion in a sense, and he's not going to do much. He's not charismatic. I don't know, Dickie, you heard him. You tell me, is he the Rock the version of the Rock running for the Libertarian Party? He didn't seem that charismatic to me.
Didn't seem that way. I will say, to repeal the 20th century's point, Peyton, is that your name? To his point,
just call him repeal.
Repeal the 19th. I think DeSantis kind of has the same factor that Trump did, in where he gets too much and also too much blame. I think, a lot of the lockdowns that did happen longer than they should have were in defiance to him, just like a lot of the things that Disney was doing was kind of in defiance to him, trying to clean up what's going on with children and stuff. And I can't remember if they had addressed this on that show. You might want to watch it. People were just kind of suggesting, why governor? Why run for governor? Why not run for XYZ? I think his tipping point might have been the red flag law. I don't want to misrepresent the guy, but it seems that.
So I had trouble people, because Tho pushed back on that and said it wasn't legit.
Yeah, that was that's the first thing I heard him say. So the red flag law thing, I'm pretty sure that was Rick Scott introduced that after that school shooting in Stoneman Douglas. I think that was him. I'm not 100% sure. But
that sounds about right.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how Trump was. I think Trump had his main issues that he wanted to address. He wanted to, do XYZ, and DeSantis wanted to, he's addressing the lockdowns, and he addressed the grooming thing, education. And I think if those other issues like gun rights and stuff were brought to his attention a little more, I think he would tackle those. He's already called for, free carry in Florida. It just has died in the House, I think in March, middle or the end of March, when they tried to push it through in a bill. And he keeps telling them, put it on my desk, I'll sign it into law, we'll have constitutional carry. So, while it would be super nice for him to just, executive order his way into things, he's gonna play by his rules that I guess he wants to follow,
Well,
so,
and by the way, if he just did executive order and things, then Hector would have a problem with him.
He would say he's being a king. Yeah.
Right. So.
Right.
Andy, what's your take on this as the round table and the resident DeSantis guy that would blow him in an instant.
I'm not a Floridian, and I don't really care for Israel, but I'm also not super pro-Palestinian either.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there is some valid libertarian critiques of DeSantis. Early on in the COVID shit, he wasn't as good. Even arrested a preacher for having a sermon violating the lockdowns, but has since pardoned that preacher, at least so I'm told. I haven't checked back into that, but I know that happened. Also, this I'm not really too worried about this libertarian candidate running. He'll may peel off like 2 votes or whatever from retards. It wouldn't really matter.
Right.
And as far as I know, this Hector guy, he was a former log cabin Republican or some sort.
Did he go Milo and come back? It wouldn't mean by former.
He was
Republican.
Log cabin Republican.
Oh,
So
I know. But Milo's no longer gay. I don't know if you knew that.
I don't know if this guy is gay, but I know he did revolve in some of those circles. I'm not too worried about it. DeSantis, while not perfect, is better than the alternative.
I agree. And I would just say one last thing on all of this is that and I'm with a lot of these people they're kind of mocking him, but why do they just assume these politicians just get their vote? It's like you do something to earn it, and that's part of the problem. I don't know. So
if I lived in Florida, I would vote for DeSantis just because he has recently done some things for fathers' rights issues.
Yeah.
He partnered with Tony Dungy and some other folks down there. And
oh yeah.
If I was a single issue voter as a single parent, that's what I would be most concerned about. So he's at least trying to do something towards that. I mean, I think my personal view is once you can disincentivize the destruction of the family, a lot more things will start to go in the right direction anyways.
Hey,
because
I'm going to call him 2-0. 2-0, you're in New York, you said?
Unfortunately, I was dragged to this Yankee hell by force, but
okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, as someone who also doesn't live in Florida, you know, I'm an outsider looking in, but from what I can see is that I think that DeSantis is a net positive, even though he's not a libertarian and not perfect on many issues. I think a lot of libertarians need to realize that, hey, guess what? You're not going to have perfect 100% libertarians getting into office and constantly doing things you like to do. Like, that's just not going to happen. An article that actually it inspired the name for my show, Repeal the 20th Century, A Strategy for the Right by Murray Rothbard. You know, he says this exact thing. You're going to have to coalition with people who aren't libertarians. I mean, this is what the old right was. Libertarians and various other ideologues on the right coalitioning for this common goal. And I think DeSantis meets us on enough of the on the big common goal and enough things that he is a net positive. And what you should be doing if you're going to run a governor candidate at all is trying to bring him closer to us with that, or use it as a bargaining tool, or just don't run him at all. Because I think the real harm in this guy running is not that he's going to steal away votes, because I really don't think he is. You know, he's probably going to go completely under the radar for most people. What it is going to do, though, is sour Ron DeSantis and his base and the people around him on libertarians for trying to ruin the show for him. It's going to make it harder to pull him in the future, and Republicans in general, in my opinion.
I would just say on that, then why have any parties? Because if they're always going to get soured of you running against them or not liking all their ideas, then, I mean, at some point you just have to say, who gives a shit, right? I mean,
but you got to know who butters your bread.
Who butters your bread, Andy?
No one right now. My chick and I broke up, and I'm a free man.
So I want to play this
good.
clip, especially since repeal is from New York. So this was a clip. Maybe you heard about this. Peter Suderman had Liz Wolfe on, and she said New York was the most libertarian city. So
give me 2 seconds to grab another beer.
Okay, so we'll wait on this one.
Yeah, I've heard about this clip, and
I'm gonna play it. I listened to the whole podcast, and for the most part, she talks about San Francisco, Austin, and Florida. Not really any specific city in Florida, about tech and moving out of San Francisco and kind of going to Austin and Florida. And then the very last question he asked her is this, and I'm going to play it here. Andy, you ready? All right, here we go.
Well, I guess I was just gonna ask you at the very end to reflect on this, since it's so personal for you at this very moment. I know you mentioned New York already, and you have been kind of splitting your time between Austin and New York, but you are currently in the process of moving from Austin back to New York. And I guess I just want to end by asking, why New York? New York is not a cheap place to live. The taxes are not low. Tell me why you're moving back there, and we'll end there.
I think New York is the most libertarian city in America, which I know is something that gets me a lot of hate. Okay,
all right, tell me why New York is the most libertarian city in America, and then we're going to go.
Yeah, New York's the most libertarian city in America because it is a place of both an emphasis on order and laws, but also this lawlessness that just constantly flouts this attempt at establishing order. New York is a place where anything goes. New York is a place where there's rules that govern what you can and cannot bring on the subway. And guess what? Nobody adheres to them, ever. New York is a place where immigrants come to it and manage to, in some cases, flout licensing restrictions and zoning restrictions and build new businesses out of nothing. And whether it's the little old lady from Central America selling mango slices on the subway platform and ultimately sometimes getting hassled by NYPD for doing so for her gall, this is the American dream. It's such a pure distillation of it. The fact that you have this spontaneous order that you're constantly seeing, all of these people, 8.5 million people who are managing to peacefully, not always peacefully, mostly peacefully coexist near each other, all pursuing the things that they love and value, and oftentimes pursuing profit, rubbing shoulders with each other and managing to, by and large, keep to themselves and go about pursuing their dreams. I think it's really incredible. I sort of wonder how many remittances are sent from New York, this hub of economic opportunity, back to, third world countries, developing countries. I wonder to what degree New York is this generator of wealth that people are able to tap into in all kinds of countries where one of their family members has immigrated to New York and managed to make something of themselves, and now the family's supported back home by it. So I see New York as this land of lawlessness. I see it as this land where immigrants can and do consistently pursue the things they value. And I see it as a place where, frankly, even the richest of people and the poorest of people are to some degree able to have this shared sense of New Yorkerness. They all go to bodegas. They all take advantage of the public parks like Central Park, which, yes, I guess having public parks isn't really a super libertarian thing. The fact that it's flat subway fare, although I would prefer for the subway system to be prioritized, I do think experimenting with it being flat fare allows people from even really, really far outer boroughs to access economic opportunity deep within the heart of Manhattan. And they're paying for it in time, but they're not paying for it in money the same way. So I see New York as this glorious experiment in dynamism and spontaneous order, and a really, really great example of how freaking awesome immigrants are.
Tyler, this is gonna be my number one reason why we should repeal. Just play that clip.
Let's go we got to go to Peyton first. He's the New Yorker.
Before we do, when I first heard that, my thought was, this is one of my non-libertarian friends describing libertarianism to me. They have no clue what it is, and this is someone that works for reason. Peyton, what did she say there that was libertarian about New York?
Well, nothing actually. Right. She brings up these cases of spontaneous order, kind of ignoring what spontaneous order is. Spontaneous order will happen regardless of whether or not you have a libertarian or non-libertarian society. There was spontaneous order in the USSR. Was the USSR libertarian? Absolutely not. I mean, it's complete nonsense, and I would like to specify so I can distance myself from her, even though I'm not a native New Yorker and hopefully getting out of here. I live in upstate New York, which, still pretty terrible, but not as anywhere near as close as bad as New York City. But I think it's really telling that she couldn't even completely get through the get through her sentence at the beginning without laughing, because
Right.
she even knows how absurd what she is saying. It is subconsciously at the very least. Because I mean, when you go to New York City, what you see is more like, Somalia or some backwards third world country where everyone, there's these really strict laws, but no one's following them. Yeah, you know what we call that? We call that a third world country without rules, without order, without any sense of community, and just a complete terrible place to live. And she brings up little things like, oh, they have these regulations of what you can carry on the subway but don't enforce them. You know why they don't enforce them? It's because they don't want to look racist. It's because they don't want to they don't want to alienate their base, which are these like freaks and weirdos who go on the subway and harass people and make them very uncomfortable, and make the subway just a general danger to not only your personal safety but your health as well. If you've ever been on a New York subway, it's one of the most disgusting places you'll ever see in your life, and it's such a ridiculous.
Not in my life.
Yeah,
that's because I see trash every day.
Yeah, that's fair, but it is genuinely just a disgusting place, and it's laughable anyone would actually try to argue this case. And you did bring up a great point. This is a great argument against the 19th Amendment.
That was Spud. We'll give her that one. Dickie.
Yeah.
So this could be you could just have this transcript in your book, and there you go.
Dude, that would require me having to like listen to it or read it again or something like that, which I can't do. I mean, there's nothing like libertarian. Nothing screams libertarianism like having a law against jerking off your meat on the fucking subway and doing it anyway. It's like, what the fuck? She should tell this point that she's making. She should tell that to the bodega guy who defended himself with a knife. See how well that goes for him. It's like, hey, don't worry, buddy. This is the most libertarian city, as you stab the guy in self-defense and get charged with murder.
Okay, and Andy, you can comment on it too, but I thought we would I'm gonna do that.
The whole thing was filled with contradictions.
Right. Well, hang on. I'm going to play this Alex Stein. You guys have probably seen this.
Yes.
Okay, I've watched it now. Now she had posted, and then I guess deleted it, about some guy talking about her juicy booty, but the transcript is kind of like the Biden transcript where he says, repeat the line, and end quote, or whatever. And the White House is changing the transcript. Okay, so here you go. Here's Alex Stein. Here we go.
See, my favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite.
See, he loves her.
She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina. I love it. My favorite AOC. Nice to meet you, AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress. Woo, I love it, AOC. Hot, hot, hot like a tamale.
Let's go.
That shit-eating grin that he always has just brightens my day.
It's something else. So anybody have problems with that? Because then obviously she comes out and she's like the campus police. That's exactly what it is. The Capitol Police. She's like, but then she's told people to protest and do all kinds of crazy stuff too. So does anybody have a problem with that? And I think he was fine with what he said.
I'm a man, so I have no problems with it, but I have seen some of the reactions from some so-called libertarian women that have a problem with it, saying it's sexual harassment. Sure. But I don't think it was harassment. Harassment to me would be taking it a step further and like following her and shit. This is like the same thing as hitting on a chick in public. Either she accepts it or she rejects it.
Right.
And you go on about your day.
He was giving him mixed signals too. It's not fair to him.
Right.
And she's a public politician who, is evil. Inherently evil,
and she's not hot. I'm sorry, you guys. The people that think that,
thank you.
Like they've never gone out and seen. She's work hot, right? She's that woman. You're at work.
Yeah,
you're around her all the time. You think she's hot, and then you go out to a club and you're like, or somewhere else, and you're like, oh shit, she's like a 4. But at work, when you're surrounded by all these IT guys, she's like a 9.
I mean,
that dress helps.
Bust her guts up, but it would just be one time. I don't want to hear her talk much.
Hey,
after that.
she's the right race. She's the right color. It's okay.
That's true. That's true.
Anybody who has a problem with that wants to effeminate men.
All he had to do was just wait for the campus police to give him a guided tour to AOC's ass. That's all he had to do.
Campus police. I'm glad we're running with that one.
We're moments away from AOC claiming rape.
Yeah,
what surprises me most is that she's reacted so harshly to it, because going back to New York City being the most libertarian city, I mean, this is commonplace in New York City. I would think if she's from the Bronx,
exactly.
She's used to this kind of thing.
She was a bartender. She had to get hit on like 80 times a night. I don't know what the fuck she's whining about.
Look,
this
when a
seems
woman
tame compared to what
bartender.
she probably,
Exactly.
This is like the humble brag, though. She's only bringing this up because she wants people to once again objectify her. And so then look at this guy, he's objectifying me, and it's the humble brag. So
when she's 40 years old and no one wants to bang her and she doesn't have any kids or any eggs left, she's going to be praying every night that someone would catcall her.
Well, she has the vaccine, so she already doesn't have any eggs. So.
Right.
Does she have the real vaccine or the
I think
or
she's
the connected
stupid.
vaccine?
I think she is stupid enough that she actually believes and buys into all of this. I mean, she's still wearing a mask.
But it's not whether she's stupid enough. It's whether the people who control her are willing to give her the actual vaccine or the
sure. I
solution.
think they would. I mean, they don't need to make more AOCs directly from AOC. They have entire countries for that.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
So
you were gonna say some sort of
Andy,
clone.
you really think she's gonna look that bad at age 40? I mean, I think you might be
She already looked
underestimating
pretty bad, so.
the
I don't know
older
how old she is.
Latino women.
I don't
Some
know
of them
how
can
old she
age
is
pretty
currently.
well.
Yeah, you're right, because those memes with Nancy Pelosi and her low cut beach wear. I think she is actually putting those out herself. She's like, "Oh, I'm old, but hey, I've
Not
got
my
some
proudest
saggers."
fat.
Yeah.
I tweeted out today that I would bust both of them down at the same time to save America. It would bring me no pleasure.
By the way, AOC's 32, which is kind of
32.
surprising.
I
I'll
don't
be
think
32
she's that
this year,
ugly.
so.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think
She seems nice.
I think
She's
her eyes
got-
are way too far apart,
yes.
and she's
That's
got bug
exactly.
eyes.
She's a little nuts. So you can't. So I'm going to bring up another story here that I just saw. This is kind of crazy.
If her face is in the pillow, it doesn't matter.
So I want you to comment on this guy. He's really tatted himself up. He's changed his eyes. He put the side of his head. He has stuff. I don't know, the 666 in his head there.
Yeah.
I know he's doing this, but is there any difference between this and like transitioning?
Yes.
What's the difference?
Is he trying to get kids to carve 666 in their head?
Well, I don't know. I mean, just because you're a tranny doesn't mean you're trying to
I think
get
the
kids
main-
to-
Oh, it doesn't?
I think the main difference here is that, like, I actually do believe some trannies that they like truly believe that they're like a woman, and here he's not trying to make himself believe anything. He's just trying to look like a total freak. This reminds me. I like literally just made a tweet a little while ago, probably like 30 minutes or so ago, with like this girl who like separated her tongue and it looks all disgusting. And I was like, and I have the same reaction to this, where it's like, you gotta take time to thank God for his patience and mercy for entering in this like noetic covenant where he won't flood the world anymore, knowing shit like this is gonna happen.
Hey, look, unlike the trannies and what they do to their bodies, I think his looks pretty cool.
Okay. So, I wouldn't want my kids
He's got some
doing either
artistic
one of those.
mutilation.
Right.
This behavior only comes about when you have extreme government overreach. Like, it creates these degenerate fucking
Is this in
weirdo
Great Britain?
freaks.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, well, duh.
Yeah, this is a kind of thing of like that island should have never been civilized by the Romans, kind of thing.
No one just naturally does this type of shit unless they're like living in a schizophrenic world that's created by schizophrenic people.
I had a acquaintance guy that I used to bike race with, and he was really good, and then he kind of flipped out. Okay, and part of it I think was he was doping, and he was feeling some guilt about this. So he goes to South America, comes back with a whole Maori warrior tattoo on his face. His fiance, who was very nice, she immediately dropped him and
What's
broke
his
up.
What's his race?
He white guy.
Oh,
California.
David Klinger is his name. You can look him up. So he got this full face tattoo, and then a few years later, he starts to regret it. So he goes through this whole process of trying to get it removed, and then he had all kinds of So he's spending like $40,000 trying to get this $500 tattoo removed, and he ended up having all kinds of drug problems because just mentally he was a mess. So I can't believe that this other guy was doing well, but maybe so.
If I were British, I would tattoo the fuck out of my face to distract from that teeth. Okay, so I can't blame him.
Yeah,
Okay.
I need an
Here,
early
I'll
life
show you
check
a
on
picture.
him. I need an early life check on him and
Wow.
the chick who said New York is more libertarian. Early life check on
I
both.
can
Of them.
add, if she's from New York City. I mean, the early
Looks like
life
a
check is right
chimpanzee.
there.
Yeah. Let's still Pinor. He keeps coming in here. Perry. Can you hear us? He's still can't hear a damn thing. Perry.
Get it together, Perry.
I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Yeah.
I showed you my chin. Please respond.
Perry.
Okay. Oh, he's
Can
pointing
you
at-
hear us, Perry?
Okay.
If you guys can hear me, I
Yeah.
can't hear a goddamn thing. Seriously.
I don't know what to tell you.
But, well, for posterity's sake, I was going to do a little Alex Stein bit because, oh my God, he killed it today. Killed it. But I can't rip off of you guys. I can't talk to you guys. I can't hear a goddamn thing. Peace.
All right. Well, there you go. I appreciate Perry. Maybe next time.
Thank you for stopping in, Perry.
Maybe go to a different
It's a damn
Starbucks.
shame.
Yeah, damn shame. Michael Chiklis, everybody, joining the show. That's the commish right there.
Toad's
Appreciate
brother.
it. Toad's brother. Right.
Toad, if you're listening or watching,
Oh,
help.
I was
your
gonna
brother
make. I was gonna bring this point up about Toad actually earlier about the DeSantis thing. So a lot of the two of the biggest voices in dunking on Hector have been Toad and Top Lobster.
Yeah.
And consequently, they've been getting a lot of all the heat from Hector's friends. And while I'm
Those
not
gay
really
Cubans. Oh no, you didn't. Those
The
guys.
log cabin Cubans.
it was Martha Bueno actually. No,
Oh yeah.
what I say about that is Top was living in New York City during all the bullshit. He recently moved to Florida this year.
Yeah.
And Toad lives in Massachusetts, so you can't really get much worse than that. So from their perspective, I can
Massachusetts is
see
basically
because
Mexico, according to Toad. By the way.
basically, yeah, they have all the best Mexican food and everything else there too, but they don't even have fucking happy hour, so don't talk to me. So I don't know how that works. All the fucking Irish people there, you can even have a happy hour, and they have some of the strictest drinking laws. But from their perspective, they were dealing with like two of the worst states that we have, especially with lockdowns, and they were kind of looking from the outside in. And if I was in that position, I'd be saying, "Well, damn, yeah, it really would be nice to be in Florida right now. DeSantis doesn't seem so bad." So I can kind of see that. Also, I was actually in New York during most of the lockdowns too. I wasn't in Florida. I was kind of stuck up in there. And it sucked. It was ass. So I was very happy to be back in. I was in North Carolina for another part of it, and then back in Florida for the rest of it. But by then, it was back to normal. Like nobody wore masks or anything. So it was legit night and day. So I was very thankful for that.
Yeah, I think you make some good points for once.
Who, me?
Yeah, good points.
Oh,
I
thank
don't
you.
really
Thank
know
you.
what else to say about that.
Uh-huh.
So anybody else have anything else they want to push, poll, talk about before we head out? We've been doing about a little bit over an hour, and I appreciate Spud for joining in as our one viewer. No, I don't know how many. Anybody? Repeal, Dickie. Before I start asking questions, you don't want me to ask questions because they're going to be things like Dickie.
Sure.
No, I don't want to
Ask a question. Ask what you got. I like it when you ask questions. You have a very random, insightful one.
Oh,
You're a
okay.
lawyer.
Yeah. So would you ever? Thank you. Would you ever get a mullet like Andy?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. The only thing stopping me is my wife, who hates mullets on me.
Okay.
So yeah,
I won't date.
I was
a chick that hates
growing
mullets.
one out this year, and then I just went to like a skin fade.
I don't have a mullet yet. It's just long.
It's
and
just long,
awkward.
yeah.
So I get the box Chevy going.
Well,
Redneck
until I
Jesus.
see you without a hat, I don't really know. I can't tell. Oh, okay. Well, kind
Put the hat
of.
back on.
When your hairline starts moving back,
Put the hat back on.
Just hold it.
I'm growing it out so I can get the box Chevy mullet.
You need to do the Trump, just swoop it up and around. You'll be okay.
There used to be a
awkwardly long
website
right now.
There used to be a website, early 2000s. It was called Mullets Galore, and they had to take it down because it was just people complained about it. But it was they would categorize the different kind of mullets, like Mexi mullet. It was fantastic. I spent hours when I should have been working on there.
90s internet days. You also had that, and you had fat chicks and party hats. I don't know if you remember that one. That's another thing.
I'm too young to know this. Tyler, by the way, speaking of hair, what do you think about a mullet on you? How do you think that would go?
It would never happen. I'm just not a fan of that.
You got to keep it short to hide the gray, don't you? Is that what you're doing?
Not necessarily, but the gray is coming. I just love the clean look. That's just really what it is.
Touch of gray. The beard looked good. You took the beard off.
I had one. Yeah. I was going to show you this here. Let's see if I could do this here. Oh, here we go.
Everyone here can grow a mustache except for Peyton.
So this was a year ago. A year ago yesterday, I had this nasty bike wreck. So I thought I'd just show this picture here. Maybe we can float
The
in.
state vegetable of California.
I was trying to show this lady here because she has eye tattoos.
Oh, she's TikTok dancing on your grave right now.
Oh, damn.
There we go.
She said, "Job killer my ass. I'm gonna keep this job."
Yeah.
They'll hire anybody. Do you think she's vaccinated?
I don't know. She was a little strange. So when they found out that I broke my back and they're trying to move me like that, she starts to freak out and she's like, if you move him wrong, he's gonna be paralyzed. I even remember kind of twisting my neck, just like, bitch, please, why are you saying this right now? That doesn't seem like the very good bedside manners. But a year ago yesterday, so I'm all healed up. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Okay.
I'm still gonna make fun of you.
The weirdos in California are somehow the only people that care about you. All the technical experts don't give a shit.
Did it hurt like a ton, or did it just damage some nerves and you didn't feel a lot of it? I mean, I'm sure it hurt, but like, how was the pain?
As you can see there, the road rash was nasty. It was, and I've had tons of bike wrecks in my life.
That would burn, yeah.
And it was the worst. It's still you can see it on my back. It usually heals up much better, but that was the worst. The actual neck and the back breaking itself weren't all that bad. It was just all the road rash. So
Tyler is the reason Freddie Mercury wrote the song I want to ride my bicycle.
You know, I listened to a Freddie Mercury song last night, and you should see my wife. She looks at me. I don't know.
Did she ask you if you had monkeypox after?
That's usually what she asks me every night. But then I say, well, do you? Because
I mean, that monkey flu started in like Northern California in the Planet of the Apes movie, so we better watch out.
You know what?
Tyler, do you think you were the only person who had sex at the LP National Convention? Like straight sex, heterosexual sex.
Yeah. No. By the way, I took my wife there. That's the kind of. So yes, we did have sex in a hotel.
Yes, because Toad doesn't count.
Right. He didn't. The hand jobs at the table. I don't know. Could be. I'm sure some people were hooking up. Martha Boyna was there, flashing her titties on Twitter. It was so weird. She wasn't part of it, but she posted a picture in her bikini and in her hotel room saying, "People come and have old fashions with me."
Latina as fuck, yeah.
Is literally asking me to go.
I memorialized that with a meme. Tyler, can I send it to you real quick?
Of course.
Who do you think was the most likely candidate besides yourself to have had actual sex at the LP National?
Well, I would have said Brian McWilliams because he's pretty good looking, but he's married and he's happily married. So, there was, I don't know. Tyler has legs back. He has sex. Okay.
It's interesting you bring that up because I'm still friends with a lot of at least on Facebook, with a lot of people from the LP Mises caucus, even though I'm not really involved with them anymore. And
some gunshots behind my house.
Oh shit! Hope you
I'm gonna
don't
go
die.
grab mine real quick.
But there was this girl. Oh, her name I think it's Grace something.
Brianna Coyle.
No.
He said girl.
I said girl, not mutant monster from.
I don't know.
Not dildo butt monkey.
Yeah, but this girl named Grace or whatever posted on Facebook a picture of her. It was from her just above her breasts up, but she was completely naked. Even said so in the post. I'm just completely naked, having a burger and drinking in my hotel room at Reno. What the fuck are these people doing?
Thirst trapping.
Yeah,
Tyler.
for sure. If you look
Tyler.
at the comments, there were some people like that.
What, Dickie?
So I must know how hard was sex after the spinal break, and how quickly did you do it?
Here's the deal with my neck and my neck, my back, my ass. Okay.
Did you have the 6-week rule, after a chick gives birth, or what?
They didn't.
She hung him in the swing. That's how she did it.
They were not low. Speaking of loads, they were not load bearing. Okay, so I actually got back on my bike within a few weeks. So imagine, as soon as once again, it was the road rash was the problem, dude. I would, because it was on my back, all over my back. So I'm trying to sleep at night, but I had a neck brace on as well, trying to sleep in this thing. And then I wake up and you don't want to ooze all over the sheets. Easy, Andy. And so my shirt, I would wear a shirt, and then it would be stuck to my wounds when I'd wake up, and I'd have to take a shower to pull it off.
Yeah, that's ass.
That's horrible. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have
50 touches of gray. That was Tyler's sex life after that.
Right. So about Reno and the sex, though, the Mises Caucus gets a lot of angst and whatever, but there's a lot of young guys there that are married and have families. So it's not so. It actually has taken some of the nerd quotient out of it. And I sat next to Shane Kiss and some of these other guys that are funny, cool guys with wives and kids and normal. And then you look up ahead and there's Black Mutualist, and over here there's the guy in the skirt and some other things. So
did Black Mutualist have as much pussy at the LP National Convention as he claims to have had?
I don't know whose he was having. First of all, well, the prostitution's legal there, so that's the only thing I can imagine. I made the joke.
He doesn't have enough money for that.
Right.
Can he not find the clitoris? Is that why he keeps a bead on his forehead?
No, I made the joke to him online. I said, because he was talking about how he was, the man or whatever, and I said, my wife saw you and said, "Why did you take me to Lilith Fair?" And he didn't like that.
I'm sure I like Black Mutualist as an antagonist. I'm sure he gets plenty of patchouli scented pussy.
Sure, I don't care.
He's a really good consistent weekly villain to show up on my Saturday night or a Saturday morning cartoon.
He's been actually interesting on Not a Podcast. I'll just say, it's an interesting guest.
Does he have to stand on his tiptoes to get his bellboy to the penthouse? I really want to know. How short is he?
He's a little guy. Yeah, that rock doubles his weight on his head. So
the CEO of BlackRock, as I like to call him.
That's solid. All right, I think we've done it, folks. I appreciate Dickie and Peyton. It was nice meeting you. So I'll check out your podcast. Maybe I'll include it in one of my clip shows, and I'll be nice to you, of course.
Oh so, yeah. That would be great, actually.
Who you got coming up?
Well, I have an interview tomorrow with Stephen Carson. He runs a pretty big libertarian YouTube channel, and by pretty big, I mean he has 6,000 subscribers, so big for libertarians.
Yeah.
But called Radical Liberation, and he's written a bunch of stuff. He's a PhD economist, but he's written a bunch of stuff on a concept called medieval anarchy. So hopefully that'll be out either Saturday or Sunday, something like that.
Great. Dickie, new book ideas? Anything else you want to push?
They're new book ideas. They're still ideas, but I might get around to it one day. Yeah, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things as far as making my videos and stuff. It's kind of hard, but I might push one out. We'll see. My software has been kind of squirrely, so
I was
we'll
just
see
on
how it goes.
your boys' show last night, Tower Power Hour. So you got a video you can.
How was it? I heard it was very dick jokey, as
yeah,
usual.
it went to the taint and just stayed there all night.
Stayed there. That's good. That's what I bring to the table, so that's why you had me on.
Right. So there was thanks for coming on, both of you guys. Andy,
Absolutely.
you got anything coming up? You're gonna do every once in a while you just put out an Odysee show, and you hit big numbers. Anything like that coming up?
Next week, I'm going to try to have on some of the Hoppians and Nick Ashley. And I don't know what the format's going to be, if we're going to do like a Mystery Science Theater, watch a lecture, or do kind of a daily news rundown. But we'll see. I just kind of put them out sporadically when I want to. But yeah, that's all I got coming up.
You run your own life. That's pretty good. So anyway, thanks everybody for coming on. Nice to meet you, Peyton, Dickie, as always. I'd give you a big hug if I was near you.
No, I'll give you a huge hug when I finally see you.
Yeah, that'll be good. Back
I'll
to
look
Reno,
for your stars.
Back to Reno, that was the fun part, right? Seeing Josh as an example, giving him a big hug, and then suddenly we all got COVID. Weird, but enjoyable either way.
Tyler, real quick, before you let us go, are you pushing anybody in the Mises Caucus to talk about family courts or family restoration at all?
No, but I'm probably a good person to talk about it. What's your suggestion? Maybe we should have a show just on that again and talk more about it. I've had more and more bad experiences in court lately that just make me want to jettison the whole thing. So it's been horrible.
I mean, I don't know, just anybody in the libertarian sphere talking about family issues to me is important. I mean, obviously, if you've been paying attention since the fucking Great Society, sorry, I can't articulate without smoking and swearing, but the destruction of the family has been incentivized.
Yeah.
And for obvious reasons, it benefits the state and the regime. So it seems like to me that would be a core issue of libertarian, at least garnering support. I mean, how many single parents are out there? What can you say to those folks?
So here's my problem, and this probably goes for all of you on here. If you ever want to, just reach out to me. I do family law, just so everybody knows, and I'm deep into it every day. So I don't always see, and if we talk to someone like Andy, who's in a different way, sometimes I could see a different perspective or problems that you want us to think about. Once again, I'm just in it and I'm helping clients do what we can do, and I have some solutions and some ideas, but these would be good ideas for us to push forward, as you're saying. So maybe we can move forward that together, Andy.
I'd be more than happy to. I wish I had anything beyond a middle school education and I could write something about it. But
I wish you did too. Yeah. So you could talk and we could dictate it out.
It's fine. So. You can have mine. I have a medical biology degree, bachelor's that I'm not using. So if you want to borrow my education, you're welcome to it.
There you go. It's transferable. That's what I've heard. So. All right. Thanks everybody. Libertarian Podcast Review, Kill Podcast. This is our 4th one. We'll do another one next month. And thanks everybody for showing up. All right.
Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye guys.
But she's back.
And now.
Chick-fil-A is completely overrated. It's not that good. I prefer Zaxby's. I prefer Popeyes.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
Should I vote for Dick Cheney on the Libertarian Party? Do I have an
Yes.
obligation to vote for Dick Cheney?
I would say so.
Yes.
Did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
That one dude was like, not a podcast. I can't find it anywhere. They don't have video.
Oh, yeah, Peter Janke. Yeah.
Yeah, I blocked him.
I'll do it. If he unblocks me, I'll...
He'll buy your shirt if you unblock him, Bert. He's a wigger.
Yeah, nothing cooler than
So
a
he's-
49-year-old wigger.
like-
I just started live streaming. Cut me some slack. I'm pretty high tech for a boomer. But anyways,
boomer.